Senator Thune.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate you all coming in and answering our questions. I think one of the issues with this acquisition, we're probably not going to see a month from now or a year from now any visible impacts on the nation's livestock industry or our nation's food supply or food safety for that matter. But I think we need to look at these in terms of what the impact will be 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, how the nation's food supply might be impacted, how food safety might be impacted. You have 20% of the world's population living in China, so obviously food security is a high priority, especially since only 8% of the world's cropland is in China. China is going to have to look beyond its borders to ensure a steady and stable food supply, but we've got to ensure that China's food security and adequate supply doesn't come at the expense of ours here in the United States. I want to ask a question, Mr. Pope. You had mentioned that I think in your quote is, it will be the same old Smithfield, only better, and that Xiangwei is committed to maintaining our operations, our headquarters, our relationships with producers, our labor contracts, and our quality brands with the highest reputation for food safety. I think we're all encouraged to hear that, as Smithfield has been a great asset to the American food supply in the past decades. But I'm wondering if maybe you could elaborate on any assurances that have been given to business partners, producers, employees, consumers, that Smithfield will be, in fact, as you put it, the same old Smithfield.
Sure, thank you, Senator. I'd love to address that. Xiangwei's been very forthcoming in terms of their commitments and in their public statements on the announcement of this deal, of their commitment. So they are well aware that this is a large acquisition going on in the United States, and they are well aware of the public overview and concern about this transaction. So they're very knowledgeable and very thoughtful about what they're committing to, realizing that they will be held accountable of that. And the fact that the overwhelming support of so many different organizations and participants in the pork industry have come forward with this should give you some assurance that Xiangwei is going to live up to their commitments. I've known these folks for several years, and they've always lived up to their commitments to us. They are the leader in their country, and they're partnering with the leader and the largest pork producer in the world, with the largest pork consuming country in the world, with the largest processor in that country. The marriage is sort of very natural and very automatic. In terms of commitments, I'm very grateful for the fact that people like the UFCW, the unions, have stepped forward and said, we understand they're going to honor our contracts. Our producers in the industry of the hog producing industry, many have stepped forward and said, we salute this transaction, as well as many of our competitors in this industry have also come forward saluting this transaction is good for this industry for the long term. I've got over 30 years with Smithfield, and so I have an enormous invested emotionally in this company. And I'm going to make sure I'm still going to continue as the CEO of this company, and I'm going to have a hand in the future in the way this company continues to operate. And I realize we're going to be held accountable to the scrutiny of the American public and the regulatory process in this country, and I'm very comfortable. Xiangwei 100% endorses that, and in fact, the North Carolina pork producers just today were meeting with Chairman Wan in China and just put out a press release in the last few hours complimenting their meeting with him and his commitment, that's the chairman of Xiangwei, the commitment to maintain the food safety standards that Smithfield has in place today. So from as good as assurance as anyone can have, they're making public statements on the record that they're going to maintain the management team and our operations and our food safety standards.
Mr. Slane's testimony identifies Xiangwei as being a, and I quote, Chinese state-controlled company, end quote. In your testimony, you state that Xiangwei is a private holding company based in Hong Kong. Would you agree that Xiangwei is a state-controlled company?
No, I would not agree, Senator, that it is a state-controlled company. It is. I mean, I think that's fairly easy to research. So I just asked Mr. Slane to do the research, and maybe he's just gotten some bad information.
Ms. Slane.
Chairman Wan is a high-ranking member of the Chinese Communist Party and a 15-year veteran of the National People's Congress. He was appointed to the position by the Chinese Communist Party, and he answers to the Chinese Communist Party. And if he does not do what they say, they will remove him or worse. In addition, he controls the majority of stock and the voting rights of Shamway. And finally, Senator, the Bank of China, which is controlled by the Chinese government, is financing the cash, the $4.7 billion in this transaction. The Bank of China does not finance any transactions unless they're told to by the Chinese government. By any definition, this is a state-controlled company.
Two more things as to why it's state-controlled.
Very quickly.
Its subsidiary was listed on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. You don't get a listing like that without some kind of state support. Several government people have come out and said openly that they support this acquisition. That doesn't happen unless there's something else going on, some other influence.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take advantage of Mr. Slaughter's expertise while we're here and ask a question. I'd like to hear in your words what you see as the long-term implications of the merger and acquisition on the American food manufacturing industry. And to be more precise, is this acquisition going to be a job creator for American workers?
Thank you, Senator. It has every potential to do so. And if I could echo Mr. Pope's response to your question earlier about the long term, the one dimension on which I hope he's wrong is that in 5 to 10 years, Smithfield doesn't have 46,000 employees in America. They have 56 or 66,000. Most of the growth in the world is outside of the United States. And I'll echo the Chairman Stabenow's nice framing. The number I'll give economically is 22 million. There's over 22 million under and unemployed Americans in America today. We need to try to create, over the next 5 to 10 years, approximately 20 million new jobs in America. And a lot of those jobs are ideally going to come from American workers and their businesses being connected to opportunities in world markets. And yes, there's a lot of legitimate concerns about the economic development of China, but I think the engagement of China in the rules-based, transparent policymaking process is critical to try to allow American workers like those of Smithfield and throughout a lot of other industries to be connected to that growth in China.
You, in your testimony, mentioned foreign direct investment in the long term as being a boon to the American economy. I'm wondering if you see any situation in which foreign direct investment might be a detriment or be an untenable risk to the American economy.
So anytime there's a foreign investment that raises a legitimate national security concern for America, that foreign investment should be looked at closely, if not forbidden. And again, I think the CFIUS process has decades of being a well-run and well-managed process for reviewing those kinds of national security concerns. And my only other thought on that interesting question is, clearly individual transactions sometimes don't work well for the parties involved. But when you look at the clear historical record for America over decades, inward foreign direct investment, like this particular transaction, has generated large benefits for American workers and the broader economy.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.